let's add one quick on this podcast. Let's add one little tech tip or riding tip.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. So you mentioned the idea of a half clutch.
Okay.
Half clutching. My guess is some of our listeners don't know what the heck you're talking about. So I want you to describe it, then I'll explain how I think about it.
Okay. Yeah. Let's take it from two different perspectives. When most people take a basic rider course, right, you're taught to squeeze the clutch all the way in and then release the clutch all the way out. But if you think about when you're releasing your clutch, when you're learning how to start riding, the friction zone doesn't really start grabbing until almost nearly the very end, right? And so you start thinking, well, is it really necessary that I have to squeeze the thing all the way in? And then you start just clutching with two fingers where you're only squeezing it halfway in. Mm-hmm. And then you start to key in on all the advantages of going into this half clutch phase where you're separating the clutch plates enough to affect a transmission or to manage wheel spin or wheel grip to a certain extent. So you think about off-road riding, you go half clutch constantly to kind of manage grip and manage things. But on a traditional transmission motorcycle without a quick shifter, I still, in most cases, and I'm really curious what you have to say, I can still half clutch a better blip shift than most quick shifters, especially on a downshift phase, because I can control it so precisely with just this little feather with two fingers on the clutch lever. You can affect these unbelievably smooth downshifts that a quick shifter can't do. Quick shifters totally can't do it, but the E-clutch could.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's, I don't know if I explained that well enough because I kind of blew through that. What are your thoughts on the half clutch?
For track ride, so let's take dirt bikes out for a second, because the way you abuse a clutch on a dirt bike is totally different. You abuse that poor thing. Let's just talk about street bikes for a second. So on the track, what you're saying for a half clutch, that's what I would do on a downshift if I don't have an auto-blipper.
Right.
And now the auto-blipper...
That's where most of us use it.
Yeah, now the auto-blipper means I can do clutchless downshifts. I don't have to touch the clutch at all. I just click the lever. The ride-by-wire understands what's happening. It automatically blips the revs for me, and I never touch the clutch, and it just knocks a downshift buttery smooth for me. The Aprilia does a brilliant job.
It's one of the best auto blippers I've ever
It's probably the best auto blipper I've ever used, and I've used a bunch. Now, let's say you don't have an auto blipper, and I'm sorry. You should go get one because they're amazing.
They are
if you can get one.
So much fun.
But anyway, if you don't have one, what we're talking about here is how do you get through a downshift quickly without disrupting the bike? Now, when we talk about if I go from third to second gear, right? If I'm going to go the same road speed, second gear is going to have a higher RPM than third gear would have if I'm going the same road speed. So what we're doing when we do the downshift, where we pull in the clutch, click the lever, and blip the throttle before we let the clutch back out.
Roll up maybe quarter of a turn, 16th of a turn, maybe.
It's so quick. I don't even realize.
Yeah, just enough, and you do it while, as you're bringing the clutch in. They happen simultaneously.
Yeah, all these steps are happening together almost. It feels
in less than a second,
and that takes a lot of practice to get this really, really smooth. But the whole idea with blipping the throttle is you're trying to get the revs up to where they need to match for the new lower gear you're going into for the road speed you're at. If you don't do that, if you just do the shift and let the clutch out, then all of a sudden when the clutch comes out, the rear is still spinning. The engine has to suddenly catch up on the RPMs, and you'll either get like a engine suddenly has to spike up, or the rear will lock slightly
and hops
and stuff on the way on braking because the engine has to get spun up quickly enough. So a slipper clutch will help this a little because it allows the clutch plates to separate automatically. But when we're talking about half clutching, the idea here is, can I get that whole downshift process done faster? So let's talk through an example. If I'm in third gear, let's say I'm at 11,000 RPM in third gear, and I'm going to downshift down to second. It's going to need to go from 11 to let's call it 14, something like that, 13 maybe.
We're street riders. We should maybe bring it down to maybe 6 to
let's
8.
Come back down. Yeah. But regardless, it's going to have to go up in RPMs. So anything I can do to make this whole shift process quicker, the RPMs are going to drop less. if I take 2 seconds to do a downshift, they're basically going to drop down to idle, right?
And then they have to come back up
and they have to come all the way back up.
Yeah.
So if I can do anything that speeds up the downshift process, then I don't have to make up as many revs again. They kind of didn't drop as far. So what I think about when I'm doing a clutch, downshift clutch, I'm doing it with 2 fingers, sometimes 1, but typically the clutch lever with 2. I'm leaving the other 2 fingers wrapped around the bar that I'm holding onto. So when I pull the lever, I pull it basically until the back side of the clutch lever bumps against my fingers. That's as far as it goes. So it's only traveling a tiny amount, but it's enough to take pressure off the clutch plates to let this whole downshift process happen, and I don't drop the revs as much. So that's a very in-depth explanation of this, but do this in your next street ride.